Alright, what's up guys? Today I'm going to show you how to bleed your brakes. I will be bleeding my brakes on my 2010 Porsche Cayman. I will be using my Motiv Power Bleeder. Basically going to start out farthest away from the master cylinder. So we're going to go rear passenger, rear driver side, front passenger, and then front driver side. It's pretty straightforward, no different than bleeding any other brake system. So here's pretty much what you're going to need. You need a breaker bar to break your wheels loose, torque wrench obviously to torque your wheel nuts back to spec, or sorry, your wheel bolts, turkey baster and a syringe for sucking out your brake fluid. We've got the lock socket for the wheel locks, 19mm socket for the stock wheel bolts, safety glasses, brake fluid, an extension, obviously my brake bleeder, and a catch bottle for your brake fluid. So what I like to do first is to make sure my power bleeder fits on my car. It's the first time bleeding the brakes on here. So before I do anything, I want to make sure that the parts that I have, which is this guy, actually fits my car. I bought this power bleeder mostly to use on my E36 M3. I'm hoping that the bleed cap is the standard size amongst those European vehicles, so figure I'd check before I do anything. So the brake cylinder, brake fluid reservoir is under the hood in this compartment on the driver's side. Let's pop this cap off, or cover off, and here you have it. So let's go ahead and undo this guy. Set it up here. So here, make sure this fits. And guess what? It does. So great. That fits. So the next thing we want to do is to basically do a dry run, pressurize the system without any fluid in the bleeder, and make sure that it holds pressure, so that way we're basically checking for leaks in the system. So first thing I'm going to do is take out this little screen, this filter screen. It's pretty dirty. Just want to give it a little cleanup. Always have some towels nearby, guys. If you don't know already, brake fluid is extremely corrosive, and it'll damage the fuck out of your paint. Look at that, it's already getting all this gunk out just with my finger. Fuck. Should get a screwdriver. Let's put the camera down. So with the screen taken out, basically going to try and suck up as much of the old fluid as possible.
You want me to drive it up there? Yeah. Okay.
Dry run, test the pressure, make sure there's no leaks in the brake system. With the bleeder all set up, we're going to pump it up to 10 psi. Alright, we're at 10 psi, so we're just going to watch that for a few minutes, make sure it doesn't drop down at all. While we wait for the pressure test, might as well start unlocking or unbolting the wheels. We're going to start with the rear passenger side, which is farthest away from the cylinder and the brake fluid reservoir. Then we're going to move to the rear driver side, followed by the front passenger side, followed by the front driver side. Of course, always start by loosening your lug bolts. My bleeder is holding pressure just fine. So to relieve the pressure, I'm just going to undo the cap real quick. And now we're going to fill it with brake fluid. I ordered 1 liter. Wish I ordered more. It's too late now. Let's get back on. Here we have the rear passenger side brake caliper. As you can see, there are 2 bleed screws here, and then back here. Hope you can see it. It's right here. So what we're going to do is just basically we'll bleed the outside one first, followed by the inside. I like to take a rubber mallet and just kind of like whack the caliper a little bit, kind of, you know, pop up some air bubbles that might be sitting. And make sure you have your little bleed bottle. It's a 10 millimeter box end wrench for the bleeder nipples, so all you have to do is just crack it open, and once I pump up the vacuum bleeder, it should start popping out fluid. I'm going to run it until probably about 10 seconds or so, give it a couple whacks with my mallet. So we're going to go ahead and I already put new fluid in here, so I'm going to pump this up to 10 psi. So yeah, it's an 11 millimeter wrench. I like to just sort of break it open real quick in case it's a little tight, but I already pumped my bleeder, so I'm gonna put this on here, put my hose on, pop it open, and you should see some fluid come out. I like to give it a few whacks. Basically just bleed it until you stop seeing air bubbles. When you start seeing clean fluid. Alright, that's looking pretty clean. Okay, gonna do the other side now, same thing. Press button wrench. Kind of crack it open a little bit. Okay. Attach the hose. again, tighten it back up. Make sure it doesn't come loose. And then just, you know, more or less hand tight. Alright, that's it. So that's pretty much it. Just gonna repeat that for the other 4 corners and should be good. Okay, so finish up the front wheels. You have to bleed them for a lot less time just because it's closer to the brake fluid reservoir. So I put in about 1 liter, or exactly 1 liter, and still have just a little bit left in the bleeder. It'd be nice to have like 1.5. Would have preferred to bleed the rears a little bit longer, but should be fine. So with all the extra fluid, I'm going to suck it out of the reservoir because it's probably a little high, and then I'm just going to throw out all the new fluid. No point in using it. So as you can see, the brake fluid is very full. It's at the very top, so I'm going to suck it all out and get it to the proper level. Okay, so the proper brake fluid level can be seen here. There's a little hole that shows the window. Not sure if you're gonna be able to see it. You can see there, there's a marking for minimum. So you can't really see the maximum marking, but it's maybe half an inch above the minimum marking. So I'm just gonna suck out the fluid so it's somewhere in between the 2 marks. So that's it, guys. Basically just cap it back up, go for a test drive, and hope nothing's leaking. That's it. Hopefully that wasn't too hard. It's pretty straightforward. The power bleeder makes it so much simpler to do. It's such an easy job with 1 person. Otherwise you have to go through the process of pumping the brakes, getting in and out of the car. It sucks. The power bleeder was like $50 or so online. I've had it for years now, and it's been a godsend. Hope that helps, guys. Good luck. Peace.